I just got my dream car. I got every exact feature I wanted and nothing more, saving me tons of cash. All because I factory ordered my car from Langley Chrysler. I was nervous at first when Nav suggested ordering, but when he explained all the advantages, I knew I had to.
You'll get exactly what you want. You'll save tons of money on unwanted features. You'll get the best discounts available from now until when the Jeep comes in. And you're getting access to the exclusive colors and trim options, which normally you wouldn't even see.
It was the best decision I've made. I'm gonna keep this car forever.
Don't settle, get your dream car. Get in touch to see your exclusive options for a factory order at Langley Chrysler.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Kaur's Corner. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about maternity and paternity leave. So a mat and pat leave, and we're going to dive deep into what that is a little bit and how it's different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm excited to take maternity leave whenever it happens. Haven't had it yet. None of us are pregnant, disclaimer. Like, that's not why we're doing this. But we know people that are pregnant or just had a baby and they are going through, or they went through deciding if they were going to take it, who was going to take it, because dads are allowed to have it in Canada too now for 5 weeks. And then we just heard so many different conversations that families had about it. And yeah, we just feel like it's an important topic.
So, but Karen, what makes you excited about taking maternity leave?
Because you get a year off of work and you're spending that time with this, like, the cutest person on the planet, which is your own kid. Like, that's exciting. That's like, you get a whole year to spend with you went through pregnancy, so you need to heal. Like, oh my God, you need the time. I can't imagine being an American citizen and getting 3 or 4 weeks and having to go back to work. Like, no. After having, like, my period, I still need a week to recover. So I can't imagine that.
I think longer than that.
Well, I'll give you a reality check. Maternity leave for me, maybe because my situation wasn't very, happy at that time, it was not fun. Like, having a child that is now given to you, like when you're pregnant is different. And now you're like responsible for this human. And because you're the one on maternity leave, you're expected to just know what to do with this thing. And I did not know anything, which I thought I knew everything because I saw my siblings being raised and all this. I knew nothing. And I was like, what is going on here? And for the most part, like, you'd think it's like a relaxing time. It's a year off work. Oh, it ain't relaxing. You're awake all night and all day. And then you're doing your housework at the side, because it's not like you have this leave to now just be with your baby. Because in our culture, especially when you're home, you're expected to also be doing stuff at home. It's not just, you're just taking care of the baby, you're just recovering. So that was my experience with it. Towards the end of it, I was having a lot of fun because then I developed a bond. I feel like the other thing is postpartum, right? Postpartum depression is very real. And a lot of the times, the first few months, you're actually just struggling with that. So, then when you're starting to enjoy maternity leave, it's like, oh, time's up, you know? So that's my take on it. It wasn't as exciting as I guess it should have been,
You touched on so many things. One was postpartum. One was the actual, do you feel a bond with your child? Because you're not alone. A lot of people have shared that they don't always feel connected to their kid, right? And then the third one is, you were the only one home alone.
Yes.
So, like, that's why we want to talk about paternity leave too, because guys in Canada can have, or not even guys, the other partner can have 5 weeks off. They don't always take it though. So imagine your experience, but if a supportive partner also had 5 weeks off at the beginning to be there with you.
I think that would have been a game changer. You know why? Because that way, that person can take care of me, and then in return, I can take care of the baby, or whatever else. They can take care of all the household stuff that needs to be done while I just focus on myself and the baby. And I think that is the biggest issue when it comes to maternity and paternity leave, is that you're kind of given this child, you're alone, and you don't know what to do, and even the people that want to help you, they don't know what to do. It's a very odd time, because you're going through so much stuff emotionally that even when people are trying to help you, you don't even know what to, like, I remember people touch, even though I had no bond with my baby, having other people touch my baby was freaking me out, as if like I knew better. I didn't know better, but it was
You're
like,
gonna break it.
right? It's like, no, give him back. But then at the same time, I was like, but I don't know what to do. So it was very odd. So I think that's a whole other thing that now when I'm thinking back, I'm like, had I known, like if I would ever have a kid again, I would have like a game plan, you know? This is what happened to me in the past. This is what you should do for me. This is what you shouldn't do for me. But you don't know that until that happens.
And I think there's so much stigma around taking a parental leave, especially for men that are heterosexual. I mean, I think it gets more complicated when you're not a male and you're a female, let's say, taking a parental leave. It's a little bit different. I think for our viewers to know, parental leave is someone that's responsible for the child as a parent, but is not the one giving birth, right? So, and I think for men, they're traditionally the provider, or the other partner, whatever that partner is, the parental partner is the provider, and they're the ones working, but to take care of the household, make sure the needs are met financially. But I don't think that's as important, because we can take that leave, get the money from the government. So why aren't we taking those leaves? It's because people are judging. They think you're not man enough. I hate that. I hate that.
But it's true, it still exists. There's a lot of people who are progressing past that idea of like, oh, it's not male enough to take care of your own family, but that's like I think that's the most like caring thing you can do for your family, is like at a time when they need that to be there. So I don't know why that mentality.
I've seen people like, for example, if I were to be given, my paternal maternity leave, you can give some of that to your partner. I think only like a portion of it.
It's the 5.
Is it the 5? Yeah. So you can give some of it to them, so they can, usually it's towards the end, like you go back to work early, now they can take some time to spend with the baby, right? But the stigma, the way people laugh, like it's like, oh, he's taking care of the baby. Or the other part of that is like that it's funny, especially in the Punjabi community, that if a man takes that time off, but then he just hangs out with his mom and dad all day and the baby's being taken care of them, he's actually on vacation. Where I feel like as a woman, you don't really get that, So it's very different.
You're still coming home and doing the part that the parent should have done, that the parent that's at home should have done, right? And I think emotionally taking care of your family is taking care of your family.
It's a lot of work though. Like I see even with my son, he's 4 now, and he doesn't care for things like, obviously you need a roof over your head, you need the basics, right? You got to work for that. But all the clutter, the toys, this, that, kids really don't care. It's a excitement factor maybe for a few minutes, but that's it. What all he really ever wants is to spend time, whoever he's with, like a real bond, one-on-one time. So many times I'll say, I hear him talking about how he wants to hang out with his dad. And then I'm like, well, what did you guys do? Oh, we went to the store and bought some toys. I'm like, oh, you must have had a great time. So I find it funny that even at such a young age, he's very aware that he doesn't need stuff. Like he would rather just spend time with the person. And I think that's the part that we really need to listen to what our children need, right? And maybe this whole encouraging a paternity leave could help build a better bond. So, they're not just, the men aren't just focused on just making money and providing materialistic things. They should actually be emotionally available for their children as well.
Yeah, I know, Karen, you were also looking this up earlier, and we were talking about it, how if you take a paternity leave, especially males, they have a closer bond with their children, and these children are more successful in their lives.
So the benefits that we found online were, first of all, it said that over 80% of males want a paternity leave, which is believable. Why would you not? And it was over 70% of them believe that maybe their workplace would not support or fully support that paternity leave for their kids. So it's not that those employment places don't support it. It's a belief that they might not support it. They might be perceived a certain way for taking that leave. And the benefits of dads actually taking the leave included kids, they did really well at school. Like that actually went right up, which is I don't know.
Because they're
I
not
just
thinking
find
about their emotional needs, because their emotional needs
Yeah.
are met, so they can concentrate on those other things.
Yeah, that makes sense. Divorce was a lot less likely because I think they get to spend that time bonding with their whole family, like with their wife or their partner or their kid, right? So right at the start, when this huge life change is happening, your family's bonding, and if you use that time properly, like that can bring you closer rather than the dad being, or the partner being at work, stressing about all that, coming home, wife's here, kids here, stressing about that. Like, that's a lot for one person to handle. So like, why not take that time off, spend it all together, and like if you're covered for 5 weeks, why not use it, right?
Well,
Actually,
the
it's
reason-
covered more.
Yeah, it is
It's
covered
up to
more.
37 or even 63 in BC.
Yeah, like it's encouraged, but here's the catch. Like for a lot of women in like really high ranking successful careers, let's just say lawyer, doctor, something like that, if they've worked so hard to get to a certain position and then they take a mat leave, there's that fear of losing your place, or when you come back, the dynamics will be different and all that. So imagine now being a male.
I think it's exactly the same. I feel like women have that fear more because we had to work twice as hard to get there.
Yeah.
Right? So like for them to take that leave and lose that spot or their seniority or whatever it is, I feel like that fear would be way bigger than for men because like there have been studies that you can get into that position a lot more easily.
And the funny thing is, by law though, they can't do that. By law, you're supposed to retain your seniority. You're supposed to be entitled to grow your seniority in that year or however long you take off.
So it's a perception. It's just like their fear, what they think might happen.
Or maybe they are judged when they come back. It's not even the fear. It's like, the law is there, but what's actually taking place in practice? Like if you're worked so hard to, let's say you're like a surgeon or something, like more advanced where you've worked so hard to build your career, and then sometimes it's hard to get back in, like even I've seen like like this, there's a place like a cardiology center that I remember hearing a lot about how like they would phase out certain cardiologists and stuff, right? Because they would get like, now the new residents are coming in and they don't want to deal with that person anymore, and so it's sometimes it's everywhere, right? So it's not. And corporate jobs, like that's a big one. I could see someone, working so hard to become like a certain type of accountant or something like that. And then, like you said, seniority might still be there, but the way you're perceived, your lack of knowledge when you're coming back, like a whole year off, you might lose some.
That stings me the wrong way, because lack of knowledge, you've gained so much life knowledge being at home with your child, and all of a sudden you don't have knowledge because you're back. You could easily be progressing yourself while you're at home. It doesn't mean you're not doing anything.
Of course.
Right?
But then that's the problem, is like these corporations, they see it differently. That's why a lot of the jobs, like the high ranking jobs are males.
Yeah. I wonder who's running these companies, right? Males that think, these alpha males that think life should be a different way, like men should be a certain way, women should be a certain way, LGBT community should not exist. So I don't like that at all. And then that's what needs to change. It's the corporations that think whoever's running those companies needs to change.
Yeah, because that fear is real. Like, we're teachers, but even for me, I remember being like, oh man, like, will I get hired for a full-time position? They're gonna think like she's just gonna get pregnant in a couple of years, right?
Totally.
So like,
and aren't you
but it's a
covering
part
them
of
right now
life.
too?
It is a part of life, and like you should be able to get that.
Because it takes a whole village to raise a child.
And that's why you found it so hard.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's why when I'm thinking back, like, man, like our grandmas had like how many children? And it was so easy for, I don't want to say easy because I wasn't there, but like looking back, I mean, it must have been okay because they continued doing it and their kids were raised by the village. Everyone was looking out for their kids. So
We don't have that
you're covering a mat leave right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm covering a mat leave for a teacher that's just had a baby, and I am constantly in touch with her when we're talking about certain things. Because I want to make sure when she comes back, things are somewhat similar as much as they can, and things haven't fallen apart. And she's struggling at home because she's finding that time it's isolating. Yes. She wants that connection with other people. She's not getting it. Right? And I know I'm a social being. Like if I had that, I'd probably be going crazy. right? So you need that social interaction, especially if your partner, at least, whoever your partner is, if they're not there for you and they're not even home. I'm not saying she isn't, or her partner isn't there. I'm not saying that. But just putting myself in a position, if I am home by myself with just my baby, I need adult conversations as well, not just.
And even now for COVID, like my heart goes out to parents who are like having their babies during COVID, because there's already all these restrictions. And then like some people, like even going to the hospital was a whole drama, because you had to be right at the point where you're like crowning and giving birth for them to even admit you into the hospital. Like it was a nightmare, and I've heard stories about that. Like, so I do feel for them.
That's crazy.
I don't know. I think that just needs to change, and we need to change as a society, and I think in our community more so, because we were talking about it too, that if someone, especially in our community, like apne jehde hage the males, if they don't even want to take it, some of them, because they don't believe they should be, or that's
scared. Do you think they're scared of like having that one-on-one time, and like what they've seen growing up from their dad is like their role of a dad is to work and do this and whatever. Then when it comes their time to be in that role, it's like, oh God, I have to take time off. Like I have to be like vulnerable with my family. Like I have to do this, like make a bond. Do you think it's like fear?
Change diapers?
Yeah. They probably don't know how to, because they've never seen it.
Well, there's still men in our generation. Like I've heard like friends, who've had kids, and they'll say like their husband still probably hasn't even changed a diaper, and more so because maybe they're living with the in-laws and stuff, and the mother-in-law will swoop right in and take care of it, because she's a mom. That's
no,
and plus they probably
not okay with me.
Probably been looking forward to being grandparents.
Of course. But then don't like still force your son to do it.
Yeah,
and we're not saying this is everybody. Like you guys know my partner, like 100%, he would be there for everything. So it's not every person. It is different, but like when we look at the majority in our culture, there is this feeling when we talk to women and when we talk to guys too, that the general sense is that they probably would just work through it.
Yeah.
Why not make the overtime? Like there's so many costs with a baby. I'll be making the money so we can get more things that we need. So
yeah, because also maternity leave doesn't cover your full income either, right? So
doesn't.
And then even with the new, now you get 18 months. That 18 months, the amount you were going to get is just divided into 18 instead of 12. It's not like you're now given 6 additional months of pay. So you're still losing in that sense, right?
And it is expensive here. I wonder if like there could be an amendment. So even if like say you're a guy and you don't want to take the 5 weeks off, what if you could take the 5 weeks split over a larger amount of time and take like 2 or 3 days off a week? Like with COVID, everyone's been working from home, or a lot of people have been able to, so things don't have to stay the same, and we know that now, right? So like maybe if the government was open to different ways of doing things, that could be an option too, because it is expensive.
I think we need to push that. So as long as we educate ourselves first, then we can push the government to make these changes. Because if we're not aware, we're never going to change it. The government's not ever going to change anything unless we're pushing for these kinds of things, right?
So Karen, you actually, was it your sister-in-law who her husband did take leave?
He did take leave, and thank God he took leave, because her pregnancy was so hard, and sometimes they are, right? She had such a rough pregnancy. The birth was so rough, and with COVID, it was like back and forth to the hospital on the day they were going to have their baby, maybe 3 times. So just that part was crazy. And then the recovery part of the birth was so difficult for her that if he hadn't taken that time off, she would have literally been by herself. Like for her to get up and go to the bathroom was a win. Like that was a huge victory to waddle over there, because it's hard. Like
it's very hard.
So having his support, him being there so he could take care of her, like you were saying, or take care of the baby so she could take care of herself, that makes a huge difference.
Totally.
And you don't feel isolated, you don't feel alone, you feel a little bit supported. Even if you're going through postpartum, there's someone there who can kind of lift you up and like just remind you that things are okay. And you don't have to know everything right off the bat. Like no one's gonna know everything.
No, and that's the other thing. On our last note today, it should be, do not judge new parents. Or do not give them any advice. The only advice you can give them is, it's gonna be hard, but it'll be okay. And that's the reality of it. because everyone's journey is going to be different and nobody got it right the first time. I will guarantee you that. All that Instagram, fake BS, it's not real. You know, all the pictures I used to take with my baby were not the ones of both of us crying hysterically and then we'd wipe up, be like, let's take a picture now. You know? It was the raw, real moments are, you are going to cry. Your baby's going to cry. You're not going to know why your baby's crying. Nobody's gonna know why you're crying, and you know what? That's just how it goes.
And you just need someone there to, again, like you said, say it's okay. Say everything's gonna be fine. And I think every parent has a right to parent the way they want to, and we should never be judging them for that. And if you want to take a Matt and Pat leave, you can, and no one should judge you for that.
Your baby's only that age one time, so like. I feel like it would be so special to have that time with them, even if all they're doing is pooing and burping and spitting up. Like, they're never going to be that age again. And if it's your first kid too, you're never going to have that experience again. So just take advantage of it.
And from 0 to 7 are the ages where you need to build that bond with your child. And what you're teaching them is going to stick with them for their lifetime. So 0 to 7, huge impact on that child.
Oh my God, the pressure's on.
It's okay, but you're doing your best, right?
I am. I'm trying.
Everyone, from what I know, like, is trying their best.
And my tribe, my village, you guys are also supportive. You know, my son calls you guys with his problems, and I think that is the best part, that he's found comfort in you guys too, that he can talk about his issues and he's acknowledged. And I think that's far better than having a miserable mom who's alone without support. So sometimes you gotta be vulnerable, reach out.
Well, that is it for today. Thank you for joining us in another episode of Kaur's Korner. Please do follow us at Korner, our Instagram. And if you have any questions or want us to talk about certain topics or anything like that, or just generally want to reach out, we have our email. It's kors.korner@hotmail.com. Okay, thank you. Have a great day.